So something completely unexpected happened. PaulsVids rose from the dead after 2 years of inactivity and just went, oh, by the way, Shed 17-3 is happening. Like what? Where did this come from? Paul even said he wasn't making another film after Project G1, but of course, here we are with the trailer for Part 3, Sodorland. Now, many of you watching at home probably already know who I am because I created videos for the first 2 earlier films, Project G1 and Shed 17, and those videos were actually pretty big hits as far as this channel goes. So of course, when Paul announces another entry to the series, you know I gotta milk that cow dry. I mean, give my commentary. That's what I meant. Now, in the Project G1 review, I had mentioned stuff I would have been interested in seeing had there ever been the possibility of a sequel, so I will just give you a refresh of what I said in 2019, and then we'll see if my opinions have changed. Getting to see Sovereign Soda would be cool, and I could see a conflict between humans and engines emerging as future generations of biofused machines would have no knowledge of humans outside of whatever they are told, which could lead to biofused engines being brought up with a dogmatic view that humans are evil. I mean, after the events of Project G1, are you going to tell me that biofused engines had kind words to say about humans? Also, I'd like to see more of what the fat f*** is planning. How was he able to stay alive all this time? Was he pulling the strings the whole time? I'm not the biggest fan of Dr. Ruth becoming a villain, but who knows? Maybe him being manipulated enough to get me to sympathize with him in Shed 17 makes him a stronger villain overall. If we're making characters end up being malicious, I'd like to see more about Keith. Why did Thomas rip him in half and have so much anger towards him? Was it because of the media scapegoating, or does he actually have secrets that were never told to us? For the most part, I do kind of agree with what I've said, but I also do have some things I've reconsidered. I mentioned it would be cool to see Sovereign Soda itself, but I am admittedly kind of nervous about that. This really depends on how creative of what Sodorland has become in the subsequent decades, but there is an aura of mystery you get. Seeing those big fences with signs that say, no diplomatic ties beyond this point is very ominous. We see nothing but trees, and the only engine was Diesel 10. It really makes you think about what exists on this island where there are no humans. We know biofused engines probably hate humans, so we know this island is incredibly hostile towards humans. It kinda reminds me of North Sentinel Island in a way, where even stepping foot on shore is enough to get you immediately killed. We know the engines very openly do not want any humans on the island and will fucking kill you if you even think about entering, and it really makes your mind go at what this island is like. What's the culture of Sodorland? How do they stay alive? What goes on in this mysterious place that no one on the planet knows a thing about? The mystery of Sodorland makes it interesting and very eerie to talk about. We already have extensive knowledge of what Sodor was like from both the original show and the 2 prior PaulsVids films, but what has this place become? What I don't want to see is just dilapidated Sodor. What I want to see is Sodor to feel completely different from the Sodor we know, but still have this feeling of familiarity. Like when you go back to your old school years after you graduate and they change a lot of things, but there's this underlying feeling of memory. That feeling would be really tough to portray, and that's why I'm sort of nervous seeing Sodorland if that's the direction the sequel takes, because sometimes leaving things vague can be more interesting than showing you it. I guess we'll have to see. Now it's time to analyze the trailer itself. Man, this all happened just because some fucking kid gets hit by a train. Multi posted that as a comment on the video, and then an hour later some other kid posts a similar comment, but of course he gets all the upvotes.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
You're approaching a tunnel. In the distance, you see another engine. A colleague. He can't move. His rails have been taken away.
For the love of God, Montreza. Oh, I already made that joke before, didn't I?
Your friend is drowning. Trucks have pushed him into the dock. The water is rising up to his nose. He can't breathe. 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 He can His fire is beginning to extinguish, and he's starting to suffocate. As his brain asphyxiates, he sees you smiling at him. You're letting him die.
Okay, I watched the episode. It wasn't that serious.
Your friends are all gone. The people have turned their back on you. Only one man still defends you. You should be grateful. But you're not thanking him. You're killing him. You're lifting him up, and in front of his wife and son.
We now have canonical proof that Keith Hartley has had sex. You know, I have to credit that joke, because it would be a bit hypocritical if I were to get mad over it happening to me just for me to turn around and make an unoriginal joke of my own.
You're tearing him apart.
You are tearing me apart, Thomas.
That's what you did, didn't you? Didn't you?
Someone's been laying up some doobies around the trucks. Didn't he die? I guess we'll have to see if Toby either was cloned or somehow revived. If they have the technology to essentially make the fat f*** immortal, who knows what they can do. Is that Mrs. Kindly's house? Leave the poor woman out of this. Where we're going, we don't need rails. Oh shit, we're busting out the guns. Well, that trailer was pretty vague. We have little idea on what exactly the story will be and when the film will take place. So will it take place in the 2050s or 60s, or will it take place between the end of Project G1 and the post-credits scene with Diesel 10? Maybe it will center around how the engines were able to get Sodorland to become a refuge for biofused engines. From what I've seen here, it looks like Sodorland will be just as bleak and miserable as the last two films are, which I like. I think the oppressively dark atmosphere of these films adds to it. There are a few jokes which are either unrelated to the actual story or are dark humor, but in terms of what's going on, everything is fucked. There is no silver lining or light at the end of the tunnel. Everything is just fucked. Everything is just awful. Now, some people don't like that, but I personally think it adds to it. Even most horror films aren't as miserable as the Shed 17 films are. The only good thing that happens is Sodor becoming a safe haven for biofused engines, so they aren't tortured or experimented on anymore. But even then, the sequel may show more problems. I really hope this movie gives us a satisfying conclusion to the story, because I'm assuming this is the finale, but what I don't want to see is a happy ending. That's just not how this series goes. I want to be downing Lexapro after this movie ends. I want the ending to feel satisfying because both of the prior films I feel have satisfying ends, even if Project G1 left a lot of things open. I kinda like the idea of still leaving some unsolved mysteries, as these movies being in the documentary style would leave some things unresolved, as not all the information would be present. That being said, I've heard this movie may not actually be utilizing the documentary style, or maybe only partially. I've heard a lot of people assume that the engine at the beginning is Thomas or Project G1, but I kinda have trouble believing it's either. Some of the stories being told by this mysterious guy do not relate to all of them, so the only possibility is that maybe it's the combination of Thomas and Project G1 into one mutated freak, or there's more context to the story that we're not seeing. I'm not really too big into giving fan theories, and I'd rather just be surprised when the film comes out. I hope Paul does not reveal too much. If there's one thing I didn't like about Project G1, it's that I feel Paul kinda showed a bit too much in the trailers. We already knew Project G1 was probably a giant monster, for example. I think that would have been better as a surprise. Overall though, I'm very excited to see what Paul has for us. See you all in a few months, because hopefully the movie comes out this year. Wonderful release in October to coincide with the 10-year anniversary of Shed 17. I mean, I hope not, because October is almost a whole year away. But whatever, it is what it is. I'm sure it's still going to release before GTA 6 does.